Coming up, closure comes after the tragedy in the Boston Harbor this summer, and the settlement reached following the Charleston massacre. Boston boat owner and operator Ryan Denver has been indicted for the killing of 27-year-old Janissa Jols. I'm Claire Overton. Welcome to WEBN News. Denver was charged with involuntary manslaughter, 3 counts of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon causing serious bodily injury, and 2 counts of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. The arraignment is scheduled for November 19th. Jols died in a boat crash in the Boston Harbor on July 17th. Around 3 in the morning, the boat driven by Denver hit navigational air in the water, causing the boat to sink. The accident sent 8 people on board, including Jols and Denver, into the harbor. Jols's body was recovered around 10 a.m. that day. Emergency responders were able to rescue Denver and the 6 other passengers. The Justice Department reached an $88 million settlement today with the families and survivors of the Charleston massacre. Settlement amounts increased from $6 million to $7.5 million to the families of those killed. $5 million will be given to survivors. The lawsuit filed from survivors and victims' families accused the government of unjust death and physical injuries. They also denounced authorities for allowing gunman Dylan Roof to purchase a firearm. They say it was negligence of the background check system. Roof was sentenced to death by a federal jury in 2017. The MBTA passenger numbers are slowly returning to normal for the first time since the pandemic started. Ridership is back up to 70% of what it was in the final weeks of February 2020. This is good for the MBTA because passenger fares amount for a third of its operating revenue. Over the next few years, the T will be using the $1.9 billion they were given in federal emergency aid to continue service. At this time, they have not discussed fare increases or service cuts to combat lost revenue due to the pandemic. Masks will stay on in Massachusetts classrooms for at least until mid-January. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education announced the mask mandate for K-12 schools will remain until January 15th of next year. However, middle and high schools with over 80% vaccination rates are allowed to lift the requirement indoors. Currently, masks are not required when eating or drinking, while outside, or during mask breaks. These breaks allow students to take their mask off while in the classroom while windows are open. Education Commissioner Jeff Riley says this extension will allow elementary-aged children to get vaccinated. Many are predicting the Pfizer vaccine will be available for children ages 5 to 11 by early November. A nor'easter hit southeast Massachusetts earlier this week. Nearly 500,000 residents in Massachusetts were left without power during and after the storm. In some areas, entire communities still remain without power. In Edgartown, Martha's Vineyard, winds were recorded as fast as 94 miles per hour. Other towns along the coast recorded winds above 80 miles per hour. More than 2,400 workers were dispatched to bring power back to residents. This is an ongoing effort. As we continue recovering from the storm here in Massachusetts, Lucas Sims is joining us with your 5-day forecast. Should we expect rain this Halloween, Lucas?
It's possible, Claire. Tomorrow will be another overcast day with the high reaching 54 degrees and the low reaching 50 degrees. Winds will be between 12 and 15 miles per hour. Saddle up for some more rain, Boston. In the evening, there's an 80% chance of rain with winds reaching as high as 20 miles per hour. You can also expect half of your weekend to be affected by rain. On Saturday, the high will be 59 and the low will be 54, with a 96% chance of rain during the day and an 83% chance of rain at night. Winds may top at 25 miles per hour, so it will certainly be a good idea to wear a jacket and carry an umbrella. The sun may finally peek out from the clouds on Halloween this Sunday, as the day starts off cloudy and will improve to partly cloudy later on in the day. The high will reach a comfortable 65 degrees during the day, but will quickly drop down to 49 degrees at night. Winds may reach as high as 15 miles per hour, and if you have been waiting for the sun to fully return, Monday will not disappoint. Monday will be mostly sunny with a high of 62 degrees and a low of 44 degrees. Winds may reach as high as 20 miles per hour as well. Tuesday will be partly cloudy in the morning and then completely overcast in the afternoon. The high will be 56 and the low will be 42. Winds will reach as high as 10 miles per hour as well. That's all I have for the weather. Back to you, Claire.
Thanks, Lucas. Early voting is underway for Boston's mayoral election. However, so far, turnout has been exceptionally light. Early voting opened last weekend and will continue through tomorrow. Around 1,500 votes were cast both Saturday and Sunday. Monday saw a much lower turnout with only 153 voters. If you haven't cast your vote yet, the polls will be open on Election Day, November 2nd, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. For live election coverage, tune into WEBN Politics on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. After the break, the latest from the White House. Welcome back. Today, President Joe Biden announces a framework of his economic agenda. In a last-minute push before going abroad, Biden says this framework is a compromise to try and get full Democratic support. Some items on the original agenda have been removed to cut the price tag. However, it is still unclear if all Democrats are on board. Senator Bernie Sanders has been encouraging progressive colleagues to hold out until there are more changes. He believes there are still major gaps. Biden is currently in Italy for the G20 summit. A Wisconsin judge has announced that the two protesters shot and killed by teenager Kyle Rittenhouse cannot be referred to as victims. Judge Bruce Schroeder has his own rule against using the word victim in court. Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber were shot while protesting the death of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Blake was a black man who was killed by police in 2020. Rittenhouse was 17 at the time and was also charged with possessions of a firearm under the age of 18. Jury selection for the case will begin on November 1st. All eyes have been on Alec Baldwin following the accidental death of a crew member of the film Rust. Kendall Clare has the latest.
Thanks, Claire. Officials announcing that a real bullet was loaded into the prop firearm used on the Rust film set. An additional 500 rounds of ammunition were seized, including a mix of blanks, dummy rounds, and live rounds. Last Thursday, a revolver used in rehearsal by actor Alec Baldwin accidentally discharged, killing the film's cinematographer Helena Hutchins and injuring the director Joel Souza. Hutchins' death has become a rallying cry for increased film set safety, prompting calls for prop guns to be banished from sets. For the 5th time in 5 years, Disneyland has announced a price hike for nearly all tickets, and a new 6th-tier price level ticket for its most in-demand days was introduced. A single-day adult ticket under this new tier will cost $164. Adult Tier 1 tickets remain $104. Disney explains the price hikes reflect, quote, pent-up demand after a 14th-month closure. These new prices will take effect in March 2022. A new report revealing that Meghan Markle has been the target of a coordinated online attack. The analysis from Bot Sentinel, a Twitter analytics service, found that 70% of hateful Twitter posts against Markle came from just 83 accounts. The company looked at approximately 114,000 tweets posted since January 2020. Some tweets included racist content and others accused her of faking her pregnancy. These tweets have reached an estimated 17 million Twitter users. That's all for entertainment news this week. Back to Claire at the desk.
Thank you, Kendall. The film industry creates quite a bit of waste, but one store in Westboro is working to combat that. WEBN reporter Ella Ward has the story.
After many film sets wrap, most of their props end up in the trash, but that was before Hollywood Salvage stepped in.
A lot of times they get just rid of the merchandise, but now we're taking the merchandise in and having it be sustainable to the public.
The 4 owners of Hollywood Salvage began as truck drivers for productions in Massachusetts and saw how much waste was made after filming.
We're lucky that we can get it, because if we didn't, it just is thrown out.
They began collecting props and costumes from 4 different productions.
We do have 2 warehouses full of props that they've been collecting from 4 different productions. It's Castle Rock, Nosferatu, The Society, and now the Dexter New Blood.
Assistant manager Judy Hughes highlighted a few of her favorite items in the store, from Dexter New Blood,
I love the chairs.
Castle Rock,
In Castle Rock, this was the prison sign.
and Nosferatu.
I think that they're just so cool, their masks.
Hughes attributes props as one of the largest forms of waste in the industry.
I think that's probably the biggest problem. They need to go somewhere where they know that they can be used again.
And so everything you see inside Hollywood Salvage, from tables to chairs to clothing, all came straight from set.
It's kind of exciting because when you watch those shows, you'll see, oh, I saw that at Hollywood Salvage, you know.
At the store, they rent to films big and small with the goal of sustainability.
We want to give back to the film industry. You know, we want to give back.
People can also come to the store to purchase props and costumes to take home with them, bringing the films they're watching right into their living rooms.
We're so glad we got a little Hollywood in Westboro.
Coming up, a major breakthrough in carbon emissions in India. Stay with us. Welcome back. Greenhouse gas emissions are a leading cause of climate change across the globe. However, India rejected a major proposal to decrease their emissions. Callie Crozen is here to tell us more.
That's right, Claire. A net zero carbon emissions target has been rejected in India. The country is the world's third biggest emitter of greenhouse gases after China and the US. They've been under pressure to announce a plan to become carbon neutral at next week's climate conference in Glasgow. Some environmental experts say India could consider lowering emissions intensity by as much as 40%, depending on financing and access to new technology. India's environment minister says they are on track to achieve targets that were set at the 2015 Paris conference. There are less than 100 days until the Beijing Winter Olympics, but officials aren't celebrating just yet. They are racing to control a COVID-19 outbreak. China has been recording more than 200 local infections a day. Even one case is a challenge to the country's zero COVID-19 approach. The borders remain tightly sealed and quarantine measures are intact. After the Beijing Winter Games, there will be a, quote, window of opportunity, end quote, for China to shift its pandemic policy. Leaders of the world's 20 biggest economies will hold their first in-person meeting in 2 years. This year's G20 summit will address questions such as phasing out coal and limiting global warming to 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit. The G20 includes countries such as Brazil, China, India, Germany, and the US, which account for more than 80% of the world's GDP and 80% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Leaders from China, Japan, Mexico, Russia, and Saudi Arabia have declined to attend the meeting, which is being held in Rome. G20 leaders will also sign off on a minimum global tax rate of 15% for big companies. Back to you, Claire.
Thanks, Callie. Coming back stateside, the World Series is well underway. Millen Jane is here with a recap of the first two games.
Thanks, Claire. The Houston Astros are locked in a battle with the Atlanta Braves for the World Series. In Game 1, the Braves came out swinging as Jorge Soler crushed the ball to left field on the third pitch of the game. From there, it was all Atlanta. Adam Duvall also crushed a home run, silencing the crowd in Houston. During the game, Braves pitcher Charlie Morton suffered a fractured leg after taking a line drive off the right fibula. Morton then went on to face 3 more batters, striking out 2. Nonetheless, the Braves took a commanding win, 6-2. In Game 2, it was all Houston. The Astros came out swinging, scoring 7 runs, which included a Jose Altuve home run. Currently, both teams have split games in Houston as the series shifts back to Atlanta for the next 3 games. The Houston Texans chairman, Cal McNair, used anti-Asian slurs when referring to the COVID-19 pandemic. This occurred at a charity golf event last May, but the news just broke days ago. This comes days after Raiders head coach John Gruden was fired due to racial slurs found in emails. McNair used the term China virus, which was coined by former President Donald Trump. McNair says, quote, "I immediately apologized to people who approached me then, and I apologize to them now. I know how important it is to choose my words carefully, and I would never do anything to offend anyone," end quote. It is unclear now if this will impact McNair's position. More from Houston. Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson is reportedly on the move. This past week, Miami Dolphins and the Texans worked out a trade for Watson. Miami owner Stephen Ross reportedly approved the trade, but there is still a huge block in the road. Watson is facing 22 civil lawsuits of sexual misconduct, and 10 women have filed police reports against him. Last March, Watson denied these allegations. The Dolphins and the Texans cannot finalize their deal until Watson's legal issues are resolved and the NFL decides whether or not to suspend Watson. Back to you, Claire.
1-year-old golden retriever Chandler is celebrating Halloween in a big way this year. He has 31 different costumes for the 31 days leading up to the holiday. Chandler and his owner, Katie Palomara, have gone viral all over TikTok with more than 100,000 followers. His costumes range from Air Bud to Fruit Loops and even a chef. Palomara hopes Chandler's costumes will spread joy online. Thank you for tuning in to WEBN News. For more, visit our website, WEBN.TV, and check us out on YouTube. I'm Claire Overton. Have a good night.